There is a bird called an eagle. It's a special bird. I like one thing about an eagle. When it's time for breeding or laying eggs, it nests up in the mountain, maybe high in the mountain or on the higher places where nothing can actually take the eggs or destroy its chicks. So I like the way it actually builds up its protection to make sure that there is no harm, there is no danger. It makes sure that even a snake or whatever does not destroy the progress. So today I just thought about a subject called compliance. Compliance is something that is very important to all organizations because it speaks to obeying and adhering to the principles, to the laws, regulations, standards that applies to individuals, businesses, consultants, etc. Compliance has always been something that people, organization, and business take for granted. It applies to businesses. If you register your company, you don't just stop after registering your company. You now need to adhere to certain standards, to certain regulations, to certain principles that you need to engage with. For example, if you register a company in South Africa, you need to be submitting your CIPC annual returns every anniversary of your company. It's compliance. You need to make sure that your company is submitting those returns. If you don't, that company ends up being deregistered. There are consequences of non-compliance when we speak about CIPC registrations. You can receive penalties or your company can end up being deregistered after a few years of non-compliance. When you speak also about SARS has got some principles and standards that it keeps calling for organization individual to adhere to. For example, there are various tax submissions that a company should submit, e.g. the provisional tax returns that you submit before August, the second provisional that should be submitted before February, and the final tax return. In the event that you don't submit those, you get what we call admin penalties. They range from 250 rands to 16,000 rands. So compliance is always a good thing. You need to submit, or even with Department of Labor, there is compliance. You need to submit the UIF. You need to if you've got employees, you need to submit, to make sure that you have got a letter of good standing in perfect state. You also need to adhere to CSD. There is a lot that you need to do, but you need to make sure that you don't miss those submissions. If you miss those submissions, you end up maybe disqualified from certain contracts. You end up losing trust with your employees. For example, ourselves, we are registered as tax practitioners and professionals. A client is allowed to verify and check us whether we are really registered and in good standing. They need to visit our board and request for letter of good standing. In the event that we are not compliant, you are allowed to report that these guys are not compliant and they're still operating, because compliance is what our boards always pushes and requests us to have. So today I just have a short encouragement to all the businesses and individuals that we need to be compliant. Compliance is not something that it should be forced. It's something that shows that your organization is growing up and you're making sure that you are keeping up in every aspect. So you need to be compliant. So your bank does not close. Be compliant. So you don't have penalties. Be compliant. So that you gain trust with your clients. Be compliant, so that you have got confidence even in running the business. If you are not compliant, you are hesitant. You can't approach certain organization. You can't do certain stuff because you're afraid that I don't have the tax compliance. Don't wait until it's needed. Remember, birds, they put up their nest before the rain season. They make sure that they are well protected. You cannot try building in the rain season because it's raining. They need to do it quickly and in time. So do it now. Be compliant so that when the season comes, you don't get delayed because you are not compliant or SARS is after you. You can be sued. You can be jailed for that non-compliance. Submit your tax returns, submit your VAT, submit your pay as you earn. Make sure that you're compliant aspect. Make yourself green. Green is an aspect of compliance when it comes to SARS, but don't be red. Red is an element of non-compliance, which makes you to be a loser. Thank you so much for this short video that I've made on compliance. Let us be compliant in every aspect of immigration, Kanban registration, CIPC, CIPZ, ZIMRA, wherever you are, be always compliant. That's the motto that we have. Until next time, heads bowed.